All greetings, Earthlings, transmitting live here to you on Wednesday, May 15th. Quite frankly, I was going to do this one yesterday, but my, what a day. What a day. So I wanted to wait. I let this one sit for a minute, marinate overnight. Now I'm ready to cook up a good video for you guys. And this is going to be another long one. Got a lot of stuff to work through. I don't think you guys mind that, though. And let's see what's on our agenda in this one. We're going to be taking a look at a death. I'm sure many of you understand what I'm inferring to there. We'll take a look at that. We're also going to be taking a look at Q. Taxing Q in the mainstream media. Of course, any little chance they get, they're going to take. And a couple of Q confirmations. One of those having to do with space. We're going to take a good minute to discuss the battle for disclosure, I like to call it, in regards to space. That goes far beyond what many realize, in my opinion. Then we'll be taking a look at FISA, NXIVM, what else? Big Ag, Big Pharma, 5G vaccines, Monsanto losing another lawsuit. So this is going to be a heavy one, info-packed, but we're going to have a good time here. So let's get started. First of all, word to a sponsor. That sponsor is NOBLEGOLD Investments. Great American-based business. They can help you invest your retirement in precious metals. But what's more fun to me, because I'm not going to retire anytime soon, they have some collectible coins that they press out of silver. You can get gold ones too. One of them is a Donald Trump collectible silver piece, gold too, touting his economic establishment. So awesome piece. And they also have a new 10-ounce silver bar, United We Stand bar, pressed out of silver, American flag on it. You can get these individually as a combo. And they got a lot of other choices too. So you can find some promo codes in the description below. And free ebook too. They got a lot of good free information they put out. So check out NOBLEGOLD. Now getting into the death. So yes, Isaac Kappy apparently, according to news reports, jumped off a bridge in northern Arizona on Interstate 40 near Belmont, which is sort of near Flagstaff, north central Arizona, and struck by a truck on Interstate 40. Very unfortunate situation here, and very just, you know, weird, confusing, mysterious. A lot of things to take into account with this. So Isaac Kappy, I'm sure many of you are familiar with who he is, but if you're not, basically he was the Hollywood actor who went public last summer. I think it was August mainly, where he was talking about his particular experiences in Hollywood and things he thought about what was going on there. He was talking about certain names, and then he started discussing things such as Q and Pizzagate and a lot of these very dark topics. He was on Twitter, he was on Instagram. I think he got banned off Twitter at one point, but he was doing Instagram even up until recently. And last summer, when he went public, he made the rounds doing interviews. I interviewed him. He went on other shows as well. I maintained a little bit of contact with him last year, but I haven't talked to him in months, quite honestly. And I haven't been familiar with what he's doing or where he's been at. But hearing this was definitely sad. Definitely sad news. And I did not like to see it, Isaac Kappy. I think he's I think he had a good soul, but may or may not have been involved in who knows what. Bad people. But here was, you know, like I said, I haven't talked to him in quite a while, but he did release this video 3 days ago. This was the last video he put out before his untimely demise. And it was, you know, I'll link a lot of this stuff down below after this video. You can take a look at it for yourself. But my feeling I got when watching it is, well, number one, it was just very vague, very cryptic what Kappy was saying is that he was apologizing profusely. He was saying he did something bad and he hopes we can forgive him, something. It was very, he seemed very distraught, very disturbed by something he apparently did. So when looking at this situation, could it have been suicide? I see a lot of people jumping to conclusions with this news, assuming it's one thing or the other. You know, he was killed, he was murdered, assassination, whatever the case. Could it have been suicide? Sure. You know, that's not outside of the realm of possibility when looking at what's recently been going on with him and what he's been saying, things like that. Could it have been an assisted suicide per se, or suicide by someone helping him to do it? I don't know. Could have been. There's all sorts of technologies that I've discussed before, like a voice of God out there. Who knows? But could he have been pushed? You know, there's some of these news reports mentioned there were kids there. There were people that actually saw him, tried to prevent him from doing it. Could be the case. I'm not saying it's not, but could that have been people helping him? I don't know. Again, this is a situation where it's like, normally when I see something like this happen, you can get an intuitive ping one way or the other, whether it was just a natural causes sort of thing, really was a natural death, or whether there's something definitely more suspicious, more mysterious there. This one, I'm like, I don't know. It's just sad, period. And, you know, I hope hope it was easy for him. Hope it was okay. But before we move on, there was one thing that I was alerted to this morning. Now, I'm just going to throw it out there. I'm not going to speculate, theorize on it. You can draw your own conclusions. I'm just being the messenger with this all. But there was this tweet from Tom Hanks that I think someone might have tagged me in on Twitter or alerted me to, maybe DM'd me. But this was a tweet put out from Tom Hanks on April 4th, about a month and a half ago. And you can see there's a photograph, apparently Tom Hanks' shadow, taking a picture of either a rubber glove or a white glove on the road. And this says, historic Route 66, roadkill, question mark. I hope not, Hanks, with an X. Let's deconstruct this a little bit. Route 66, well, that's where Kappy was found murdered. Interstate 40, which is Route 66 there in north central Arizona. And roadkill, well, according to news reports, Isaac Kappy got struck by a truck. Roadkill. I hope not, Hank says. I don't know. Again, no clue. Just throwing that out there. It's put out a month and a half ago. In Isaac Kappy's video, he said he slipped up. He did something. So, just awful situation all around. You can see there's Belmont, where the news report said that Kappy apparently killed himself, and there's Route 66 right along it. So, again, throwing that out there. But let's move on. Let's talk about what the mainstream media, they were very quick to jump on this story yesterday. I think I saw news of it in the morning. Within 3 or 4 hours, we started seeing news about Isaac Kappy's death hit the mainstream media. So they are trying to politicize the heck out of it. And see a lot of people on Twitter trying to do it too. Just very sick stuff. I didn't even want to talk about it publicly, really, the first day it happened. But Inquisitor here, one of the websites, talking about Kappy reportedly jumping off a bridge in Arizona. And look at the subheadline. What a coinky dink. The 42-year-old actor was a believer in the QAnon conspiracy theory and had accused Tom Hanks and others of pedophilia. Hanks. X, with an X. Interesting symbolism behind the X. But, what a coinky dink. What a synchronicity. And then, like I said, a lot of these individuals, websites, fake journalists, just trying to politicize it. It's awful stuff. But there we go. And getting into Q, let's move on to some better news. More, less heavy news. Let's take a look at those Q confirmations. I forgot to talk about this one in my last video. I am sorry, I missed it, but this is incredible. Donald Trump retweeting Lisa Mae Crowley. This was a few days ago, like 3 days ago, I think, 4. But Lisa made a tweet on May 3rd talking about how people in D.C., the swamp, are panicking because Barr is investigating how the whole Russia hoax started. So that's why there's a lot of attacks against William Barr right now, frantically trying to discredit him. Lisa tweeted this on May 3rd. Donald Trump retweeted it a few days ago. Props, Lisa. Good work. You deserve it. And if that's not a confirmation, I don't know what is. How much has Lisa been tweeting about Q for the last year and a half? Incredible stuff. Well deserved. And not just that, but we had another confirmation. Let me see. Get my tabs in order here. This one having to do with future proving past. Something Q said months ago. In fact, over a year ago. Same thing being found in Trump's tweet here. So this having to do with space. A couple of days ago, on the 13th, Donald Trump tweeted, "Under my administration, we are restoring NASA to greatness. We are going back to the moon, comma, then Mars." You can look at the context there yourself and decide what he meant by that. "I am updating my budget to include an additional $1.6 billion so that we can return to space in a big way. Big way." And then what was that Q post? This was back in 2017, 22nd of December. Q said it's coming back in a big way, talking about space. This Anon was posting about how in Southern California in the 70s and 80s, it was a dream to be in the space race, to be working on that, and how so much talent was squashed and sold out. Q was saying space is coming back in a big way. Space is critical to our national security. Was terminated for a specific reason. Big way. Q proof number 1,000,000 by now. This one excited me. I love to see that. Talking space. Good stuff. And getting into discussing space, I mean, the reason why space is so crucial right now, and I call it basically a battle for disclosure, is because we have, in general, we have a deep state versus an alliance, for lack of a better description. Of course, there's multiple factions, we could say, sort of in each grouping. But there are good people, I would say, in government, in the intelligence community that want to see the truth out there, that want to get disclosure rolling. And then there's a lot of bad individuals, this deep national security state that's trying to hide a lot of truth, trying to disclose certain things in nefarious ways to brush things under the rug, So I call it a battle for disclosure. And space is coming up back in a big way, and it's coming back right now. I would say the alliance is rushing to disclose things and information regarding space because it's like a race, few things going on. So let's take a look first at this right here. Jeff Bezos, his big pitch for establishing a human presence in space. There's a privatization and a corporatization of space that's going on. Number one, there's a lot more secrecy when corporations are involved. We know that. But space, of course, we're learning so much about it that they have to sell it to the public in some way, shape, or form. So Jeff Bezos getting involved in it. We also have, of course, the new show coming out on the History Channel that ties into this To the Stars disclosure, the secret UFO program called ATIP. Now, this is connected to John Podesta, Harry Reid, individuals formerly working for the CIA. I would call this one of those deep state limited hangout, propaganda disclosures. So this is something that if there's white hats or an alliance there working to disclose some stuff regarding space, they're going to have to get ahead of this program coming out towards the end of May. There's a lot of things they need to get ahead of. And I think they're working to do that. I saw this yesterday, and this was very intriguing news to me. So in money reprogramming that's going on for the border wall in terms of the military, there's about 1.5 billion funds being allocated to the border wall. The programs being siphoned away from, the money is being siphoned away from, our U.S. Air Force space programs. U.S. Air Force nuclear and space programs take hit in border wall reprogramming. So, find this intriguing. Air Force space programs. You know, if we're talking about secret space programs, by which it's sort of a quasi-military corporate, you know, there's classified programs that acknowledge programs that maybe the Air Force, the Navy, the CIA have access to, or individuals, groups within those organizations. Then we have the corporations involved in, maybe Lockheed, Boeing, Raytheon, etc. Many of these could be controlled by the deep state. Some could be getting under the control of white hats, good guys in there. But with money being taken away from the U.S. Air Force space programs, and with a push, of course, by Shanahan, Trump administration for the Space Force, you know, I see this as just another piece of evidence that there is a power struggle going on, and that space is coming back in a big way, and they're trying to do that in many ways, and they're having to do that quick. So there's a few of my thoughts on that. It's a very deep topic. It can go on and on. You know, I'm trying to give you the gist of it the best I can here. But let's move on now to FISA. Let's talk FISA for a minute, and we'll talk NXIVM and then Big Pharma. So CNN reporting yesterday, CIA, the FBI, and the Director of National Intelligence working with AG General Barr to review the Russia probe origins. CNN reporting on this, and what I found highly intriguing is the mention of Huber. Partway through the article, they say U.S. Attorney John Huber in Utah is no longer involved in Russia issues. He's no longer involved. Huber had originally been tasked with looking at allegations of surveillance abuse by former AG Jeff Sessions. Huh, really? It's as if Jeff Sessions did exactly what Sessions needed to do. I don't know why a lot of people can't see that. Or it's as if there's a renewed attack on Jeff Sessions to undermine Q and a lot of these individuals talking about these multidimensional aspects of everything going on. Anyway, back to the story, but has been in a holding pattern, Huber has, as the Inspector General completes his review of the surveillance warrant the FBI obtained on Trump campaign foreign policy advisor Carter Page. So basically, Huber's been in a holding pattern and not really focused on Russia anymore. But check it out. It says Huber's review of other issues related to Hillary Clinton and the Clinton Foundation is nearing completion, whoever CNN's source said here. So, Huber, investigating Clinton Foundation, nearing completion. This is why the other day, I would imagine Barr appointed a new individual, U.S. Attorney, oh gosh, what's his name? You guys can help me out in the comments. Was it Durham? Jeff Durham, or an individual? But anyway, he's a new guy who was appointed as a prosecutor. Well, that's because Huber's moving on to other issues. So the new guy that Barr appointed is going to prosecute this Russia case so Huber can do other things, right? Yep, Durham. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. So there's that. And here we go. I had the tab lined up. Yeah, John Durham, U.S. Attorney out of Connecticut. There we go. So new guy that Barr appointed, prosecutor to examine the Russia probe. And after this Inspector General report in FISA D class, is that when Huber gets activated? 2019 is going to be a fun one, folks. There's going to be a lot of dark being brought to light. And one of those things involves NXIVM. So NXIVM court case, bringing more dark to light, talking about Clinton. We had a former high-ranking NXIVM member giving his testimony this week, and his name was Mark Vicente, if I'm getting that right. Maybe Mark Vicente. Looks like Vincente to me. His background in filmmaking. And this guy apparently used to be an NXIVM member. He left in 2017, and he's the newest individual going public, testifying about NXIVM. And this guy, very interesting background. He's actually the guy that was behind the documentary, What the Bleep Do We Know? I think I saw that when I was like, it came out in 2004. I must have saw it when maybe I was 15. I saw it again later, and one of those things that blew my mind. A lot of interesting connections this guy has to different individuals. A lot more to be said about all that and all those connections. But former filmmaker, and he's been talking about all sorts of stuff. One of those things is an illegal Clinton campaign scheme. So an illegal scheme being ran, connected to NXIVM, getting money for Clinton campaign. Legal campaign contribution scheme to benefit the Clintons during testimony. And remember, we have connections to Senator Kristen Gillibrand, to the Clintons with this. I mean, a lot of big stuff coming to light within this NXIVM case. And the mainstream media is sort of being forced to report on it just because so many other people are, but it's mainly local reporters I'm seeing, and then alternative outlets, of course, the only ones mainly putting the truth out about this. Some more stuff that Vicente was saying. He was also talking about not just the illegal money donations, but also shedding some light on the techniques, the modalities that they would use to mind control, to traumatize a lot of their victims in this parent cult. So Keith Raniere tried to basically break female, quote, slaves, an alleged cult. And if you get into looking just the general ideas behind MK Ultra, behind programming of an individual's consciousness, how they use trauma, and that trauma can be in various ways: violent trauma, sexual trauma, drug trauma. It's such a deep, dark, but also enlightening in a sort of word. I mean, once you understand how they traumatize not only individuals in these programs to do various things, but also mass trauma on a public scale. You know, they traumatize us in a mass way via vaccine programs and electromagnetic frequencies and fearful news. And that's how you control, through fear. So through fear and trauma. Anyway, a lot of dark stuff being brought to light in regards to NXIVM. Moving on into discussing 5G, then we'll take a look at Monsanto's lawsuit and some stuff on vaccines. So, New York Times put this out the other day. Your 5G phone won't hurt you, but Russia wants you to think otherwise. God, that must be a dead horse by now. They're just beating that horse. Russia. Because apparently RT America, a Russian network, RT America, it's like their American segment of their news station. RT America, not 100% of the truth, of course. They still have some sort of misinformation angles. You know, it's fairly mainstream, but you will find, in general, some more hard-hitting information on RT America than you will, of course, CNN, NBC, Washington Post. But they did a segment on 5G, calling it the 5G apocalypse, basically, and talking about the dangers, talking about how it's not good. It's not good for us. And the New York Times took that upon themselves to start attacking RT America and calling it Russia propaganda, saying 5G is actually not harmful. In this article, let me scroll down here. They're saying, according to our scientists, hold on here. There we go. The Office of the Director of National Intelligence described RT America as the Kremlin's principal international propaganda outlet, trying to destabilize the West, and 5G's place in the spectrum. Here's where they talk about it being totally fine. The frequencies employed by 5G are higher than cell phones, but it's totally fine. Over the years, a lot of people have scrutinized it, but virtually all the data contradicts the dire alarms, according to public officials, including those at the World Health Organization. Yeah, the WHO that recently stated vaccine hesitancy, anti-vaxxers are one of the top health threats in the world. Ha, I don't trust them at all. Opponents of 5G claim the technology's harmful frequencies will make the new phones and cell towers extraordinarily harmful. The truth is exactly the opposite. Scientists say. Which scientists? Cornell scientists, it looks like. That's the link that their study brings up. Cornell. Well, again, Harvard, Cornell, many of these Ivy League universities, they are deep state funded. I mean, we've got scientists that are either paid off or blackmailed, or many that just blind, totally ignorant, and naive to what's going on. And these organizations are utilized as the authorities to, of course, sell their narrative to the public. What I don't see in this article is the discussion of pulsed microwave frequencies. Yeah, they're discussing the electromagnetic spectrum here, but what about pulsed microwaves? This is the problem, okay? And pulsed microwaves that come from Wi-Fi and your microwave oven and 4G, 5G, etc. How does this actually affect our DNA, human systems, our brainwaves, etc.? They leave so much out. Fake news 101, New York Times, one of the top ones for fake news, which is why I would love to feature them. Now let's talk Monsanto. Monsanto losing, look at this, its third lawsuit due to glyphosate. Third lawsuit, and this is just in California. Third lawsuit out of thousands, apparently, that are yet to come. And this one is for $2 billion. Monsanto being ordered to pay $2 billion to cancer victims. This is likely going to get reduced, like I believe one of the other lawsuits were, but they got reduced to still 90 million was one of them. I believe 100 million was the other. So 2 billion likely to get reduced, still millions, hundreds of millions range. We have many more lawsuits to come. This is why Bayer's stock is crashing, and there is good news coming out in the fight against Big Pharma and Big Ag. Don't get me wrong or think there isn't. You know, I know a lot of people out there were upset about Trump's words regarding vaccination. Oh, we need to get the shots. They're important. But there is a lot of headway they are making against Big Pharma and in the lawsuits against Big Ag and whatnot. So this is very good news here. Continue tracking the lawsuits against Monsanto, and various stores taking Roundup off their shelves, which is great. And here's more good news coming out against Big Pharma. 44 states accusing drug companies of price fixing. So 44 different states filing a lawsuit against 20 different drug companies, saying that they illegally inflated prices, sometimes more than 1,000%, and they worked to inhibit competition. So we have this. We have the Trump administration saying they're going to force drug companies to list the prices of their drugs in their television advertisements. Again, a lot of headway. One little comment, don't let that detract from everything else going on. And I'll also understand the optics of it all. I think the more hardcore issues against Big Pharma and really the deep state in general are going to come Trump's second term. We'll see what happens with the Space Force, with different disclosures, with different lawsuits and things go on over the next 2, 4, 6 years. Okay, I think a lot of things are going to be making a headway. And then I got 3 articles here. We'll finish up just talking vaccines. CBS, teaching anti-vax parents to trust science and the MMR vaccine. Science. Got to trust that science, right? Science has actually become one of the most dangerous religions that we have. That's what I would say. They call it scientism, don't they? Praying to the science gods, which is usually false studies, faked information, lies. So, yeah, trust the MMR vaccine as well. No, I trust the data. I trust the evidence. And the evidence is how many thousands of stories do we have of this MMR vaccine causing damage. Actual science is observation, is following the evidence. So the true scientists know the truth about vaccines, follow that, know the truth about, follow the truth about all of these other subjects out there. And in each of these articles I'm going to show you here about vaccines, they make no waste. They waste no time in attacking the claims about vaccines having to do with autism. They're talking about Andrew Wakefield, his 1998 study that was published in The Lancet and then quickly discredited. Investigations concluding the research was fraudulent. CBS is talking about this in this article. And then Mother Jones, or I mean, they're all the same. They're all the same damn thing. Different name, same propaganda. They're talking about if anybody tells you get a detox remedy for vaccines, run. If anyone told me to get a detox remedy after vaccines, I would probably listen to them a little more. They might know more about what they're talking about than somebody who says, no, vaccines are fine, healthy for you, safe and effective. No, but in this Mother Jones article, they also waste no time in talking about Andrew Wakefield. Really, this article is about, of course, the detox angle, aluminum, mercury, and then they throw autism in there. And they're talking about Andrew Wakefield's discredited, quote, discredited study. And then a little later on in this one. And then the Atlantic here, working to attack the vaccine injury compensation program. So why the government pays billions to people who claim injury by vaccines. They put this one out yesterday. The Atlantic also sucks. But they're talking about the vaccine injury compensation program. Now, this was a program, and a lot of people who research the truth about vaccines realize that this program was set up a long time ago, so that corporations were not held liable. And it really hasn't paid out, well, it's paid out a lot of money, billions, but not to really as many people as it should have, okay? And this article by The Atlantic goes on to say that the vaccine injury compensation program has long percolated at the heart of misinformation and misunderstanding. It's actually very generous, they say in this article, and it's paid out a lot of money. And it's a good program, okay? And then they try to gaslight a lot of people who know the truth about vaccines, who realize how dangerous they are. They say that Wakefield's study was, again, fraudulent. A lot of investigations turned up nothing by the FDA, by the Department of Health and Human Services. Right, okay. The government, the same people involved in this revolving door about vaccines. Let's trust them. It's the authorities. Trust the authorities. And the VICP, so awful. They're saying it shifted. They're saying it paid out a lot of money, and it shouldn't be vilified by these conspiracy theorists. Just terrible stuff about vaccines coming out. So research the truth for yourself, folks. Do you trust science, or do you trust yourself, your own judgment, and the actual evidence? Okay? Don't get blinded by the science label. It's what they like to do. And research the truth behind vaccines. Research the truth behind Monsanto, behind human trafficking, child trafficking, behind the spying that occurred, FISA. Research the truth behind these deaths, what they were actually saying about space, what the technologies that actually exist, how much money has been funneled into these programs, the lies that they've actually put out in the name of science. So there you go, folks. Appreciate it all. Thank you for tuning here. Thank you for your super chats, too. Let me take a look at these really quick before I head out. Look into the HBO special Chernobyl. Well, if it's coming out on HBO, I'm going to be careful what I believe from it. But thanks, Paul. Appreciate your support. Dalton, thanks, my friend. At work, tuned in just to help me out a little bit with a super chat. Love my work. Keep it up. Thanks. And then Joseph. Thank you, Joseph. Appreciate it, my man. Hope all is well with you. So thank you, everybody. I'll be tuning in soon. A lot more of this, where this came from. So heavy one here. A lot of stuff we went through. How long were we going for? About a half an hour. Good place to end it. Thanks, everybody. Stay woke.